Hello, Martin here with another property market review. It's end of August 2020. If you're listening at any other time, it's probably out of date what I've said, and if I've said something really stupid, then I'm going to look really daft. So I predict property prices will plummet to beyond belief to zero and all be living in caves. No? Okay. I believe property prices will rocket through the roof and that we're all going to be seeing triple-digit gains on all the houses we own and have ever owned, including those ones we accidentally sold and wish we hadn't. No. Right? There's people out there who want to say things that make the headlines, okay? And I'm reminded of a situation back in well, I can't remember when it was, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, well, it doesn't really matter. There was a bit of government data that said that was released, and it was like the latest housing figures. And this data was sent out to all the newspapers, as they often do. And the Daily Express published a headline the following day, based on the data. It said, property prices booming. The Daily Mail published the same headline, a headline rather, based on the same data, on the same day. Property prices set to crash. Same data. House price boom, house price crash. House price boom, house price crash. The point is, if you prepare yourself, often through training and experience and due diligence and all the stuff that we teach you in my property training courses, you will be able to make your own sensible assessment of the property market at any time. Now, next week, next month, in a year's time. Whether it's going up, whether it's going down. You'll be able to make a sensible assessment and make sensible decisions based on that assessment. Because it's possible to make money in any market conditions. And I think we're very hung up, aren't we, on whether property prices are set to crash or property prices set to boom. It's like, live in the moment. Let's just make the most of the opportunities that are out there at any one time and be mindful of what might happen, but prepare ourselves for any eventuality. So if I'm thinking about buying a house and I'm going to let it out, well, first off, I'm going to live in it. Let's do the easy one first. I'm going to live in it. I buy a house to live in. I'm going to pay a certain amount of money. Now, obviously, I want that amount to be as low as possible. But if I just wait for the perfect opportunity, I'll never have that house because I'll be waiting. Analysis paralysis, they call it. So years go by, still don't have a house. All that time's passed, I haven't had a house. If I'm buying a house to live in, I want a house to live in. I want a house to enjoy life in. So does it really matter if maybe I could have got it for a few thousand quid cheaper in a month's time? Or it's gone up quite a lot and that's what I've had to pay for it. Over the course of time, it'll all just even out anyway. And in the meantime, you've got somewhere to live. So it's almost like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face if you just wait and wait and wait for the perfect time, right? Just do it. As long as you can afford it, as long as you like the place you're buying, don't overthink it. Now, if you're buying for investment purposes, obviously lots of different other criteria come into the equation. But again, if you're buying somewhere and say you're going to let it out, then the biggest thing you're interested in is yield, okay? Yield, as in how much you get back from how much you have to pay to buy it. So if you have to buy it for £100,000 and it brings in £10,000 a year after costs, that's a 10% yield on 10% net yield. That's good. So if I'm, again, obviously in an ideal world, I'd like to buy as cheap as possible. But if I end up paying £100,000 for that property, and it does bring me in, say, 7.5% yield, so I get £7,500 rather back every year, where else would I put my money where I'd get that? And if the price of that property subsequently falls, so what? I mean, yeah, you go, I wish I bought it maybe a few weeks later, but months later, whatever. Still getting 7.5% yield. So again, don't overthink stuff. If the deal's good, go for it. Here's my humble advice. And I can't predict whether prices are going to go up and go down. I mean, you know, I think reality, we've seen an amazing leap, haven't we? We've seen amazing growth in the property market. or the interest in the property market, obviously. But it just made me laugh. It's like, you know, numbers of sales gone through the roof. Well, it's not difficult when they started at zero because we weren't allowing people to buy and sell anything in April and May. So the fact that there's lots and lots of sales going on at the moment doesn't quite surprise me because, you know, really, compared to none, it's always going to be good, right? So yeah, but we are seeing a lot of sales. The auctions, the online auctions seem to be going really, really, really well, which is good. It's going to be interesting to see how we film Homes of the Hammer in the future. But I'm sure we'll find a way. In fact, we will. We'll just feature the auction properties that go to the online auctions. But it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the auction houses do actually return to doing live auctions, because anecdotal evidence is that they're doing quite well doing the online ones, in fact better in some cases. So why would you go back to the old model? I don't know. I mean, I really like the auctions and really like the auction rooms. But, you know, they're businesses, so maybe they won't be too romantic about it. Let's go, it's working like this, we'll just stick with online auctions. Does it matter? It's a shame, it'd be a real shame to have actual auctions in a room disappear. You know, I like auctions in a room, and it's quite romantic. Well, not really romantic. What are you talking about? Not romantic, but it's traditional. That's the word I was searching for. What are we seeing in terms of mortgage market? Well, it's still, you know, if you try to get a mortgage right now, there's such a huge backlog. Not surprisingly, pent-up demand, that mortgage applications are taking a long time, and they are asking questions about your financial stability and your financial ability to pay, you know, ongoing. Obviously, there is so much uncertainty about what will happen when the furloughs start to end. What is going to happen then? You know, part of me is really worried about what's going to happen when the furloughs come to an end. And you know, the reality is that if it's dramatically bad, we'll have to have an effect on the property market. It just can't mind above that. People are losing their jobs left, right, and centre if the economy is plummeting. I don't think the property market will go skipping merrily into the distance and take no regard for that. It won't. Longer term, medium to long term, you know, the property market has massive resilience, and you know, if it's a small blip, that's what I believe it will be. So there may be opportunities at that point for you to leap in and yeah, drive some interesting deals. But I come back to the early point. You know, if you can find what you want, then you could just kind of go for it. There obviously, not surprising, there's a huge demand for homes with gardens, south-facing gardens, homes which have the ability for people to expand, maybe build a home office. So, you know, maybe those aren't the things we're looking for at the moment, because there is a huge demand for them, and that's not to say they aren't a brilliant thing to own, but maybe your competition on those kind of properties is going to be more at the moment. But on the other hand, maybe there's something which, you know, will be future-proof, because that's what everybody wants. There is a lack of finance for house builders at the moment, so we are going to see, you know, those house building programs, you know, really, you know, not meeting the needs of the country, really. You know, what was it the government said? They need to build 300,000 houses a year to satisfy demand, and I think they built about 120 or something. You know, that's on average. You know, that's one of the reasons why I believe in property. That's one of the reasons I'm still committed to property. That's one of the reasons why I do my property training courses, because I still intrinsically believe in property as an asset class that intrinsically is the right thing to be in, because there is and will, I believe, always remain a demand for it. So to sum up, the real message for this particular review is try not to get too hung up on predictions. Try not to get too hung up on what might happen. If a deal's a good deal, go for it. Like this video, make sure you go to Martin Roberts Property Titbits for more information on the world of property and DIY. And don't forget all my property training courses. You can find out about those at martinrobertspropertyeducation.com.